Hello Bookish Friends and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to talk about the 15 books I read in the month of August. So the month of August was probably one of the best reading months I've ever had. It was also like the slowest month that Chris and I had. Like we didn't have something to do every single weekend like we usually do. I feel like this is still cutting my head off. So I had lots of time to read, and let me tell you, I took advantage. I also got on like an audiobook kick. Part of the reason why I read so much this month was because of audiobooks. I go through phases with audiobooks where I don't want to listen at all, and then I listen to 2 audiobooks in 1 week. And I drive a lot for work, so I spent a lot of time in my car, so I can crush audiobooks. But this month was probably one of the best reading months I've had in a while. A lot of good books in here that when I look at it, I'm like, wow, like I enjoyed myself this month. Obviously there's some books that I was like, nope, not for me. I can pick out 3 that I was like, nah, not worth my time. So I got my Goodreads pulled up so I can tell you my ratings. But let's just jump right in. First book I started the month of August was Leviathan Wakes by James S.A. Corey. As you know, this is a hefty book. I literally still have my bookmark in it. I got to 149 pages and was like, this is too much brain power for me. And on the top here it says that it's called The Expanse, now a Prime Original Series. So I watched the show instead of reading this because this book was really good. It's like a space opera. Like basically like humanity has now inhabited the solar system and we live out there. There's still Earth, and then all these different planets have different like societies and whatnot. So the concept was really cool and I really wanted to love this, but I feel like you have to be really smart to read this because there's a lot of things that they were like trying to explain and like I just could not visualize them. Could not picture it for the life of me, and I was like, this does have a series, so I feel like I would be better off watching it because then I could like understand what's actually going on rather than just being like, what the hell is happening in this? So I did watch the show on Netflix. Didn't really love the show. I don't know, there was something about like, you just never really like connected to the characters on the show. I don't know what it was like. I can't even put my like finger on what exactly it is about the show that I didn't love. I even got Chris to watch the show. And he was even like, I don't know how I feel about this. Like, don't really want to finish it. And if you know him, he finishes every single show he starts and he gets obsessed with shows. So when even he was like, I don't know, I'm not really feeling this, I was like, all right, it's not just me then. But so I did not finish this one, obviously, but I did like what I read and I liked the show. I just didn't love it. So yeah. Didn't even rate that one, by the way. I didn't even give it a star rating because I didn't finish it and I didn't feel right doing it because that book is clearly not for me. Alright, next we have The Only One Left by Riley Sager. I listened to the audiobook of this and loved it. I gave this 5 stars. This was so good. I liked listening to this on audio because I was just not in the mind space right then and there to like physically read a book. I probably would have really liked this physically, but I'm glad I did listen to the audiobook. This is about a caregiver who's assigned to work for a woman who was accused of murdering her entire family like decades ago. And this woman can't walk, can't talk, can't do anything. And then when this caregiver goes to like take care of her and live at that house, she's like, I want to tell you everything. Like the only way I can communicate is through my typewriter. So if you get it for me, I will tell you everything. And then it just goes through like what actually happened the night that she allegedly killed her family. And this was wild. Like, I have no words. I was expecting it to be like, I've read Riley Sager books before. Like, I read The House Across the Lake, and I never guessed that plot twist. So I knew it was going to be like something like insane and just like, wait, what? And it like far exceeded my expectations. Like, the ending happened, and I was like, actually, not even the ending. Like, the last, like, probably 15 to 10% of this, I was like, what the hell? That is not what I expected at all. But, like, some of Riley Sager's books can be like very like, okay, that's like a little too unrealistic, but this was like, holy fuck, like that really could happen, and I could see this shit happening in real life and just being insane. So I gave this 5 stars. I'm organizing my books into my separate piles as I go through them so I don't have to do it later. So I have one pile for books that I can just donate and don't need in my life. I have books for all-time favorites that are not allowed to leave my house or are not allowed to be borrowed. And then my third pile is books that like I'll put on the bookshelf in my front room so my friends and family can take it. So I'm doing that as we go. I could tell you what I'm putting each book in. So this one's gonna go in the donate pile. This one obviously is going to go in the must keep pile. And then I will let you know what I'm doing with each book after I'm done blabbing on about them. Okay, the next book I read was Same Time Next Summer by Annabel Monaghan. I have no idea how to pronounce this. I love this cover. It's so like beachy and cute. This is about a girl, Sam, who lives in the city. She's got a doctor fiance. They have a really good routine, good jobs. They're getting married and they want to get married in Manhattan, I think. But then they go visit Sam's family's like beach house in Long Island. And her first love ever, I think it was the only other boyfriend, no, she's dated around before, but the guy that she like pretty much fell in love with and was like her first real true love, Wyatt, lives, is it Wyatt? Yes. Wyatt, his family lives next door to their beach house in Long Island, and he ends up being there. And then you kind of realize, you go back and forth between them, between timelines, and see like them falling in love when they were young, and then you go to now, and then it slowly progresses and shows you why they broke up and like what happened between the two of them and why they're both so like damaged from this relationship. And then Sam is stuck with figuring out if she wants to continue on with her perfect life, perfect marriage, quote unquote, or if she is not over her past and wants to go back there and kind of figure that out. So I really like this book. What did I rate this? I think I rated it 4 stars. Yep. So I gave it a 4.5 stars. So this was just like a really cute read. It was really heartwarming, and I want to read more from this author. I think she has another book called Nora Goes Off Script, so I want to read that. I put a hold on for it for the audiobook at my library, so. But this was just like a perfect beachy read. Like it was so low stakes, so easy to read, and it just flew by. So I'm going to put this in, I don't know, I'm tempted to put this in my like must keep pile, but I know I shouldn't. So this book is gonna go in my friends and family can borrow pile. Next we have The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is her YA like thriller series. This is really good. I gave this 4 stars. This is about a girl, Cassie, who is a natural at reading people. She can piece together the tiniest details, tell you who you are and what you want just from those little details about yourself. And then she gets recruited into this program called the Naturals program. I think it's like an FBI or government run program where it's a bunch of like teens that have these like natural abilities to solve cases and cold cases, and get recruited to this group. Then they start solving cold cases. But in this one, Cassie is basically out for her own good and wants to figure out the murder of her mother, which the murder that happens in this book that they start solving somehow it's like relates to her mother's murder back in the day. So you go back and forth between that. I really like this. I love Jennifer Lynn Barnes writing. Like she can do no wrong in my eyes. The Inheritance Game series. And I just got her new book, The Brothers Hawthorne. I just got this, and I'm literally gonna start this like probably once I'm done reading the book I'm currently reading. But so I like this. I don't think this is as good as the Inheritance Games, but I don't think anything is ever gonna be as good as the Inheritance Games. So I gave this 4 stars, and this is gonna go in my must keep pile because I have the other 3 books in the series and I need to keep them together. Right, next we have Killing, Stalking, Deluxe Edition Volume 3 by Koogie. I should really learn how to pronounce that. This is a graphic novel, which is very, very graphic. So if you are sensitive to certain things, like look up trigger warnings because this is not for the faint of heart. I gave this 5 stars. This was probably the best one that they've had so far. They were only on edition 3. I think 4 is coming out in September, so I'm definitely gonna be grabbing that. The second one was kind of like, okay, like blah, blah, blah. But then this one was wild. This whole series pretty much is about this kid, Yoon Bum, who is obsessed with this guy named Oh Sang-woo, and Yoon Bum like kind of breaks into Sang-woo's house and then realizes that he's actually like a psychopath, like crazy guy. and that's pretty much all I can tell you without spoiling everything. But I never thought I'd be a graphic novel girly, but this has like totally changed my mind. I mean, like I said, I feel like a psychopath for liking this and liking stuff like this, but this is just like so wild. Like so wild. Like the most fucked up shit you can think is in this book. So this is gonna be a must keep because I have to keep the series together and I love that book so much. Did I say that was a 5-star? That was a 5-star. Next we have Oona Out of Order by Margarita Montimore. I've had this book for so long and always like wanted to pick it up and just never did. And then I heard Kayla from Books and Lala talk about it and she, I think, gave it 5 stars and I was like, all right, now is the time. I actually ended up getting the audiobook from my library, so that worked out perfectly. I gave this 4 stars. Basically, at the stroke of midnight every year, Oona turns a different age in her life and not like in chronological order. Like she turns 19 one year and then the next year she's 50 and then the next year she's 34. Oona learns that with each passing year she will leap to another age at random. Who will she be next year? Philanthropist, club kid, world traveler, wife to a man she's never met. So this basically, she jumps around in ages every year and then like she has to like learn to like relive her own life and learn to like learn her own life, which is wild. Like in one year she wakes up and she has a husband. The next year she wakes up, she has a kid. The next year she wakes up, she's 19 years old and in love with this guy that died. And so it's just, it's crazy. And it's so good and it's so heartwarming. And basically, I don't even remember how this ends. But basically she just goes through the motions and I would not want to do with this. That would not be fun. So this was a 4 star. This is going to go in the friends and family can borrow pile. Next is A Prayer for the Crown Shy by Becky Chambers. This is the second book in the Monk and Robot series. It's a short little novella. I also love this one. Like this series has such a special place in my heart. The first book was so good. In the first book, you're basically introduced to this tea monk who feels really stuck in his life. I shouldn't say his life because they identify as that they. Who feels really stuck in their life. And they just feel like there's something else out there for them and they need to explore the world and just follow their heart. But once they are in a new location, after like 2 years, they start to feel the same way. Like, oh my God, like I feel so stuck in my life. I don't feel like I belong here. I feel like there's a greater purpose for me in life. And then they decide to go on this like adventure to this spot that hasn't been explored in like centuries. And they end up running into a robot, which robots haven't been seen in centuries, but they come around every so often to come back and see what humanity needs and how they can help them. So the tea monk and the robot go on a little adventure, become like best friends and just have the most intense conversations about life and purpose of life. And the robot basically says like, who cares if you make a huge impact on the world? Like as long as you are happy and you're living your best life and you're doing what you want, isn't that all like the purpose in life you need? Which is like, yes, that is it. Fuck making an impact on the world. Like as long as I'm happy and I feel like I'm doing my best and I'm feeling fulfilled in my life, I don't care if I make an impact on the world. Like I really don't. Obviously everybody would love to, but that's not the goal in life. So, and then in this one, you basically follow them around, the tea monk and the robots, as they go to different areas and try to figure out what humanity needs. And they also have great conversations in this one, and this one is just as good as the first one. So I hope this series continues because I would love to just keep reading friendship between this tea monk and this robot because they are like goals. But yes, I gave this one 5 stars and this is staying with my absolutely must keep. Nobody can borrow this one. Next, I have another Riley Sager book. This is Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. I also listened to the audiobook of this one and I don't know if I wasn't just like, I don't know, I didn't really like this one. Like I thought it was kind of like, eh. I gave it 3 stars. This is about this girl goes to become like a apartment sitter at this really infamous building and really luxurious building, and only pretty much like rich people live there. And then she finds out that the apartment sitter that was before her like went missing and nobody ever found her. And then she realizes that some crazy shit is going on in this apartment complex, and it's basically like, this might spoil it, so if you don't want to hear this, just skip forward a little bit. So basically she finds out that this apartment complex is like for this one family that's really rich, and they basically sacrifice like apartment sitters so they can heal themselves. Like they'll pretty much kill them so that they can take their hearts and their organs and their kidneys and all that stuff for this like family of people that really need these organs to live. It's kind of fucked up, actually, now that I think about it. It's really fucked up. But, so yeah, she basically finds out all of that, and it's crazy, but it wasn't like my favorite Riley Sager. But now that I'm looking back, like thinking back about it, I'm like, wow, that is a good kind of storyline. But it started going into like this religious cult, and I was like, nah, I'm not feeling this. Like, that's a little far-fetched. Like, that's what I was saying about Riley Sager. Like, some of his books are so far-fetched that it's like, really a religious cult just killing people to kill people? Like, I get it, but you have to set it up more in the story about like the religion thing. You can't just be like, oh, here's their day-to-day, and then boom, it's a religious cult. Like, no. But this was really good. I gave it 3 stars. I also listened to the audiobook, but this is gonna go in my friends and family can borrow pile. Next I have Take a Hint, Dani Brown by Talia Hibbert. This is the 2nd book in the Get a Life Chloe Brown series. Love this cover. This series is basically just following 3 different sisters as they navigate life. Each sister, I'm pretty sure, has like some sort of like problem and like big like personality trait that makes them them, but it's kind of like, what the hell? And then they obviously navigate romance. So in this one, Dani Brown is a really big academic person, loves her work, is studying to become a like psychologist or something like that, but she's studying for her PhD. She's basically dedicated to her work and like doesn't really give herself a social life and doesn't do relationships because 1, she had a past relationship that really traumatized her, and 2, she just says like, I don't want to change for anybody. Like, I want to focus on me and my career, and I don't have time for relationships, and I don't want to do commitment because the relationship I had before was awful and terrified me. So you have that, and then on the other side you have Zaf, who his father and brother died, and it really traumatized him too, and he deals with a lot of mental health issues, like a lot of anxiety, and he uses his anxiety and his experiences to help these like younger kids. And he was a former rugby player, so he works with rugby kids. This is getting confusing. So he runs like a rugby camp, and he teaches these kids like, it's okay to have mental health issues, like we can work through your anxiety. So he does a lot of stuff with like mental health and young kids. They pretty much fall in love, but they do like a fake relationship because of something that happens in the book. They basically fake date, but then end up falling in love for real, and then 3rd act breakup, boom, done. I love Talia Hibbert's writing. The spice in this book is unreal. You would never think that this is a spicy book, and it's so funny because the first Talia Hibbert book I ever read was, what is it called? Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute. That was like her YA romance. And so I read that and I was like, oh, that was cute, blah, blah, blah. And then I read Get a Life Chloe Brown, not knowing what to expect. And it was like spicy. And I was like, oh, okay. So now I love this book series. But yeah, I gave this 4 stars. This is gonna stay in my must keep because I want to keep the series together because I'm crazy like that. Actually, no. Get a Life Chloe Brown is out on my bookshelf, so this will go out where my friends and family can borrow. Okay, next I read the novella of A Welcome Reunion by Lucinda Berry. This is a follow-up to A Perfect Child. This was insane. If you don't know anything about Lucinda Berry, she basically writes like the most fucked up psychological thrillers that you're like, how can somebody even think of that? But they're fantastic. So to give you a quick recap, the first book, A Perfect Child, is about this girl that was like severely abused and malnourished by her mom. Gets found in a parking lot and they think that she's like a baby, but she's really a toddler. She's just very malnourished and her mother did some really fucked up things to her. So our main characters, the mom, I don't even know their names anymore. I forget their names. But the mom is a nurse, the dad is a orthopedic surgeon, I think, or something like that. They basically fall in love with this girl that comes in and they decide to adopt her, but then they realize that it was the biggest mistake they ever made because she's actually crazy and just like pure evil. So a lot of shit happens in the book, and then A Welcome Reunion is like 15 years after everything. The child gets released from, she was in some sort of like psychiatric care and like a rehab almost. So she's basically 18 now, released from rehab or that care, the whatever she was in, does an interview, wrote a book about like her life, and basically tries to make the parents look like the bad guys, per usual. A ton of crazy shit happens. I'm not even gonna say it. It was only like 73 pages, so if I say anything, it's just gonna ruin it for you. But holy shit, that was a 5-star read. I literally read it in like an hour and 15 minutes because I was like, I can't stop. It's one of those things where when you start, you can't stop. So that was a 5-star read. Absolutely obsessed. I will read anything Lucinda Berry writes. So next is The Heiress by Molly Greeley. This I ended up DNFing at 45%. I picked this up at Barnes & Noble because it had like a little like sign under it that said like Victorian age Britney Spears. Like basically this girl is born and was like a fussy baby, and her parents gave her some sort of like medicine to make her calm and sleep, and she basically grows up addicted to it. When she doesn't take it, she gets really sick. The best part about this book is that like they do arranged marriages back in this age. Like this is a Victorian age, and she was arranged to marry her cousin. Like that's just weird to me. I don't get it. What is it? But her dad dies, and then she finds herself like unexpectedly free from like the control of her parents. And then I didn't even get to the rest of it because I was like, this is freaking boring. I was expecting this to be like a lot more intense and like, I don't know, maybe I just understood it wrong. But I DNF'd this at 45% and gave this 2 stars. This is gonna go in my donate pile. Don't even want. Next we have another 2-star read. These 2 books were just not it, and I listened to both on audiobook. The next book is Daisy Darker by Alice Feeney. I didn't really get the hype of this book because I was listening to it and I was like, it went back and forth a lot, and I feel like a lot of the like flashbacks we didn't really need like long ass chapters for. Like the flashback chapters were so long for no reason, and then the present chapters, like present day, were so short. And they like, the present day chapters were good, but they were like 3 pages long, and then they flash back for like 4 hours. So I was like, no. This is about a girl, Daisy Darker. Her family is pretty much really shitty and toxic. They go back to her grandma's house, which is on a island and secluded. They're together for her birthday. It's one last time. People start dying, and then you figure out what happens. Honestly, I don't know. I know Alice Feeney is like very popular and well loved, and I just don't get it. Like I read this and I was like, I just wasted like 9 hours listening to this. It had potential, but then the end I was like, all right, the ending was good. It was good, don't get me wrong. It was a good ending, but I was kind of like, I don't know, how many pages is this book? 335 pages. Like, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like it could have been better. 335 pages is not that long for a thriller. Like, this is pretty average, but I was just like, do we really need all this like information? I don't think so. So this was a 2-star. This is gonna go in my donate pile. All right, we're almost done. Got 3 more. So the next book I read was One Summer in Savannah by Terah, Shelton, Heiress. I gave this 4 stars. This was an emotional read. So we are reading from the perspective of our main character, Sarah, who was raped 8 years ago, got pregnant from it, had her daughter, moved away to Maine to completely like get away from his family. His family was really powerful and just like mean, just terrible human beings because they had money. So she moves away, and then now we are back 8 years later. Her father is sick. Her father's partner called and said like, oh, your father had a heart attack, you should probably come home and see him. She comes home, realizes that he has a brain aneurysm and he has 6 months to live. They just didn't want to tell her that like over the phone because they didn't want her to like really freak out and worry. So her and her daughter come back to Savannah after 8 years of being gone, and basically the entire time she's there, she's just worried she's gonna run into the man's family because she knows that they're like mean and degrading and will like totally rip her apart if they see her, and she doesn't want his family to know that she has a daughter and then that daughter is related to them. And then you read it from this other perspective from a man named Jacob, and Jacob actually turns out to be the twin brother of the rapist, and he just changed his name because he also wanted a fresh start. He also just came back to Savannah after like 8 years. He's been there for a couple months. Finds out his brother, the rapist, has cancer and is pretty much dying. These two, Sarah and Jacob, run into each other. Her daughter is like a genius, like really smart, so he was like, we need to like get her potential. And at first Sarah doesn't know who this man is, and she finds out, but this is basically a story about like forgiveness, redemption, unconditional love, and discover what it means to truly forgive. So let's just say these two, they may not hate each other at the end of the book. Yeah, I gave this 4 stars. This is gonna go in my friends and family can borrow pile. Next, this is a short little story. This is The Haunting of Cloudenstein House by Selena Myers. She is also Celine's Spooky Boo on social media. She's like the one who does like sleepwalking videos. She's freaking hilarious. I bought this book when, like, I don't even know, a couple years ago, and I wanted something quick that I could read because this is obviously really tiny. I gave this 3 stars simply because I liked the storyline and I liked the vibes, but there was so many spelling errors in this book. Like, if you look this up on Goodreads, pretty much every single person that reviewed it said that there's spelling errors, and there is. Like, there is just like formatting issues, spelling errors, like weird things, like misprints, but the story I will talk about. So basically, there's this house that it's like a myth house. Like, they hear this house and it's like this haunted, spooky house. The family that lived there, the daughters went to an insane asylum because they're crazy and then escaped, and then the parents went missing, and pretty much every single person that has lived in that house since has gone missing after living in that house. This girl, Hannah, buys the house on an auction online, doesn't even like go and visit the place. She's not from this town, goes there. Spooky things start happening, and then you find out why everybody has gone missing. So I thought the storyline was good, and I liked that it was short, but I feel like this could have definitely been longer. I feel like the ending was really rushed. It was kind of like, okay, let's build all this anticipation and scare the shit out of you, and then boom, here's the ending, okay, done. Like, it was just like too rushed, and the spelling errors were like, they were not it. But I gave this 3, give it a 2.5 star. Let's not give it a 3 star, but this is gonna go in my donate pile. Lastly, I have a book from the library. This is Saturday Night at the Lakeside Supper Club by J. Ryan Stradal. I don't know if that's how you pronounce the name. I love this cover. It's like yellow and vibrant. I gave this 4 stars. I have to return this to my library soon, so. I love this enough to where I would probably buy a physical copy of this, but I'm not gonna do that. I started reading this on a Sunday when I was like just coming off of like a 3-day freaking migraine, and I wanted something like easy to read that was just like a cute story. Like, I didn't want like a high stakes thriller or a high stakes romance or anything high stakes. So I was like, you know what, let me just try this. Ended up reading this in like 2 days. I read like 150 pages the first day I started it because I was like, it was just easy to read. It was low stakes. It was honestly just a cute like contemporary fiction story. So I'm gonna just read the summary because if I try to explain it in my own thoughts and words, it's just not gonna make sense. So, Mariel Prager needs a break. Her husband Ned is having an identity crisis. Her spunky beloved restaurant is bleeding money by the day, and her mother Florence is stubbornly refusing to leave the church where she's been holed up for more than a week. Lakeside Supper Club has been in Mariel's families for decades, but it also caused a rift between mother and daughter that never quite healed. Ned is an heir to a chain of home-style dinners, and he knows his family's chain could provide a better future than his wife's fading restaurant. In the aftermath of a devastating tragedy, Ned and Mariel lose almost everything they hold dear. Can they find a way to rebuild their lives, and will the Lakeside Supper Club be their salvation? Basically, Mariel her family has like this like hometown, family-owned restaurant. Ned is like a big chain guy, has all these chain restaurants. They meet, fall in love, get married, and then go through the emotions of life and family and loss and tragedy and all that. So this was just a really cute story. I think I gave this 4.5 stars. Yes, I gave this 4.5 stars. I really love this, and now I want to read more from this author because this was just like a good story. So if this wasn't a library book, I probably would have put this in my must-keep pile because I really like this. Like, I still think about this book, and it's been almost a week since I read it, but it is a library book, so it has to go home. So these are all of the 15 books I read in the month of August. Pretty solid reading month, honestly. There was only a couple that were like complete duds, but that's to be expected. There's no way all books you read in 1 month can ever be all amazing, so it is what it is. But yes, those are all the books I read in the month of August. It is officially September, and we're bringing out the fall TBR. September 2nd when I'm filming this, and I'm still not ready for fall. I live in upstate New York, and for some reason it's actually this upcoming week it's gonna be like in the high 80s, which I don't get. Thank you for watching my August wrap up. If you like this video, make sure to let me know in the comments below. Also, let me know how many books you read in the month of August. Make sure to give this video a like, subscribe to my channel, and hit that notification bell so you are notified every time I upload a video. And thanks for watching. Bye!